Okay.
Good, sir. Hold your seats. The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it's located in the First Peoples traditional lands. Recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today, we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaties with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. Meetings called to order. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? No changes. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Mayor Nissen?
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, let's vote for it when it comes up. There we go. Please vote for or against. Okay, you voted for a meeting, so let's continue. We have one person for citizens net of council. Is that in person or online?
In person.
Oh. Well, please consider. The minutes of council provides an opportunity where residents can address council regarding issues, events, celebrations, or concerns. To ensure a constructive and welcoming environment, please adhere to the following guidelines. Keep your remarks concise, limited to 1 minute. Address the chair of the meeting when speaking to council. Avoid asking questions as this is not a Q&A. Maintain a respectful tone and language. Have our attention. Thank you very much.
Mayor, councilors, my name is Melody Robson and I own Pine Ridge Village Manufactured Home Park here in Hinton. On the 17th of September, I sent a letter to the utilities department stating how I felt about the utilities and metering in manufactured parks. As I stated, I'm not opposed to having the meters. I'm just opposed to how the bills are collected. As I stated, I will no longer be collecting for the town of Hinton on their behalf, as I've done this for 20+ years with no compensation from the town for doing their job. I am requesting that the town meter each home and send each homeowner a utility bill for their own consumption. This will help me to keep my rents down and remain affordable housing for our adult park. As for the meters, I'm hoping that the town will allow each tenant to have the bill for the installation of the meters put onto their taxes or a small monthly fee added to the water bill if they cannot afford a lump payment. As most tenants in my park are on fixed incomes from the government, this would ease a bit of their financial strain. Giving this option for payment for everyone in Hinton would probably be a good decision, and I'm sure it's been discussed. Once again, I am not opposed to the metering, just the collection of funds. Every year, the costs rising include taxes and repairs and maintenance for our park, and I am giving in an increase on my own. But this adding these other costs to my lot rent already makes us landlords out to be brutal, greedy landlords, as I've heard that before. People don't realize that these costs are already included in their lot rent, and they assume we just give increases because we can. Obviously, I don't know the decision that the town has made on this subject, but I'm hoping that my suggestions will be given consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come. We're going to be talking about that later on in the agenda, so thanks for your thoughts.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
We'll move on to delegations and presentations.
Through to the chair, sorry.
Well, sir.
Help Dina Fuller from Help and her staff are here. They would like to do a minute with council as well. If
Oh, sure.
they're able to.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to come and sit down?
I can stand, I'm fine, unless you need me to sit down.
Pardon me?
Unless you need me to sit
No, you
down.
can do whatever you're comfortable.
Okay,
Thank you.
my name is Vanessa LaFleur. I'm the homelessness coordinator here in Hinton at HELP. And we just wanted to bring to the attention of mayor and council, as well as the community, the issues surrounding homelessness. We have had recently some of the camps, and I know this causes a lot of controversy. I'm very aware of the different opinions that there are in the community as well. But we did want to bring to attention that after we were informed of the camps being dismantled and some concerns came to us regarding the people's belongings that were in the camps. To most people around here, those things mean nothing. They're just some meth heads, some crackheads belongings that they probably stole. And I want to clear up the air about that, is that that's not the case. Many people in the community think that the people in the encampments are all meth heads, that they're all thieves, that they're all into crack or doing some other illegal things, which is not the case. And so I really also wanted to take this opportunity to really urge the community as well to stop the spread of misinformation, that the hatred that is going along online on the different social media platforms, the hatred and the aggression, it's not serving anybody. It's not solving the problem. It's fueling to the bad feelings from, both sides of the people in the community. We understand that people have concerns about safety and crime and different things like that. But we also ask that even if they're having those sometimes aggressive opinions that people are not shy to boast about on these social media platforms, again, urging the community to take a step back from doing any of that, because that's not helping with the problems that we have. Since April 1st, at our agency, we have had 161 unique clients come into our office for services within the homelessness and at risk of homelessness program. So what that means is people who are experiencing homelessness, as well as the people who are at risk, they're on the verge of being evicted. Their situations have changed from, maybe they were in a 2-income household and one spouse passes away and now they have one income and they're having a hard time, keeping up with everything. We are seeing an increased number of senior citizens coming into our office for services and supports. We have served over 500 meals. We have served people in the community coming in to use our day space over 500 times. Today, for example, there was 22 or 23 meals that were served in our office just today alone. And so that means, that number of people coming in to use the day space for different services. We also had concerns about, that when these camps were dismantled, I got on the phone, trying to phone around to find out, by whose authority, who gave the direction to do this, where did this come from? I was given the runaround. Oh, phone this place, you gotta talk to them. So I phone over there and I talk to them. No, you gotta phone over here. You gotta talk to them and ask for the project manager who was in charge of that. I still did not get a direct answer. These people who had their camps taken apart, all of their belongings taken. And I wanna know, where did those things go? I'm told they were taken to the dump, okay? You could not tell me honestly that certain items that are of value that were taken from these camps, and I will say that were not stolen property. Chainsaws, a quad, a perfectly fine running quad tires, people's IDs, which they need to move forward with anything, with income support, with anything in the health services, with getting into any programming, in which makes it very difficult for not only the participant, but for us as well, because we have to go back and start from square one again. Tarps, clothing items, sentimental items that they carry around with them all of the time because they're important to them. Prescription medications, it's hard enough for people to get that to begin with. And all of those, that's just a few of the things. that were, and I'm told, whether this is true or not, I'm told that loaders went in and pushed everything down in the people's camps. People are in camps because they have nowhere to live. People are in camps due to whatever circumstances, whether it's, not having adequate income, the rental prices being too high. Maybe there is mental health issues, maybe there is drug addiction, but they still have a right to housing. They still have a right to have somewhere to live. They still have a right to have services provided to them, which is what we do. And then this is where the negativity, the hatred, the aggression, all of these things stem from people in the community. And all of that stuff going to waste, to me, seems like a waste. For all of their personal belongings, everything that they have gathered to make themselves some type of a shelter to be able to survive, all of that being pushed over with a loader, thrown into a truck, trailer, and apparently, allegedly hauled to the dump. I would like to know for sure where the direction came from, because I still don't have an answer. And what happened to those types of belongings that are of value, like a quad and quad tires, chainsaws, those kinds of things. We have several people that are concerned. We have people that, some people do want to sit down and be able to have their voice heard. And so we're asking also, is that something that the town and council would consider? Because as well as everybody else in this community, they are all also citizens of the community, and they also have a right to be heard. And I know some people in the community don't share that feeling, but this is not the time to be arguing about who's right, who's wrong, what's right, what's wrong. And we also need those opportunities in order to move forward. We have people here who have experienced their camps being dismantled, who would also like to speak and have their minute with council.
Thank you very much. This isn't a question and answer.
Right.
But we do appreciate you taking the time, and the issue of homelessness is one that we're gonna be dealing with quite a bit in the future. So I'm sure that we'll be having discussions with you on that and through the administration as well. Appreciate you coming first and to tell us about this. Thank you very much.
And like I mentioned, I do have a couple of people here who it was their camps that were dismantled, that they would like to have a minute with council as well.
Okay, well, I'll allow that. Can they come in and speak?
Sure. I'm right here.
Just three days ago now, the RCMP and the town bylaw came to my camp and told me I had 10 minutes to get out of there. And I said, well, I can't get out of here in 10 minutes. And they said, well, just grab what you can, and I did. And I went to town and they told me that I could come back and get my stuff. And I did. 2 hours later, and I came back to my camp, run over with a front end loader and trucked with the bucket and all a whole bunch of stuff. I had another gazebo down there that had everything I owned in it, and that was all taken and gone. And I have nothing now. Like I don't know.
Thank you for speaking to us. Appreciate that. Was there anyone else?
Yeah, what?
Thank you very much.
So where I stand is I have one just down the road a bit from him, and the way I figured it, I picked the lowest spot, the ship goes downhill, I was at the bottom. But since his chainsaw got taken, we don't have a way of bucking up wood because he was letting it out to us whole time. And otherwise, I guess I'm looking at being the next one to have my stuff flattened, or I don't know. Is there any way thing that could happen with that area? Like nobody else uses it. There's absolutely like no traffic that goes through there. Like there's one sign. And as far as I looked at it, at the town boundary map, you guys are map, you have the property all the way to the river edge. And so far, like, I mean, throw myself under the bus against cannabis, and I started mine's kind of like a mess, but it's hidden. But yeah, it's there. It's just, I don't know, it's just, how do we go around it? We just need space that we can start putting ourselves up, and if we have no space, so we can't figure ourselves up. We're just eating.
Yeah, the minute with council is not really a discussion or a question and answer format, but like I said. This topic, this homelessness issue, we're gonna be talking about and working the town and working with people on this. For quite a while into the future, so I'm sure through administration discussions with you guys on how we proceed on these issues in the future, but I sure appreciate you coming in and telling us firsthand what happened. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the chair, but we'll follow up with probably through help and we'll have that more of this conversation.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else?
Nope, that's it.
We'd like to move on to the delegations and presentations. We'll start with that. And if you could introduce yourself, please, start with that, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you, council and town administration for letting us sit in front of you today. Thank you very much. My colleagues beside me, Deb Workman is the president of the Performing Arts Theater Hinton, or actually Home for Fine Arts Theater Hinton, and our society. Oh, boy. We're part of ASH. Debbie is the president of the Fine Arts Society of Hinton. Wendy is our facility administrator, or coordinator for the PAC, Performing Arts Theater. We have so many headings. Anyway, and I'm the treasurer for Home for Fine Arts Society. We occupy and manage the Performing Arts Theater at 821 Switzer Drive, which was created by the town of Hinton and all the user groups that were in Hinton in the 2015 era. Oh. There we go. There. So that's the bath. We're at 821 Switzer, so you can switch that one again too. This half usage day screen up above will show you how many days that we use our facility. 269 and 154 add up to way more than the days that are in a year of 356. So there are many days that there's pickleball, safe walk, and a movie that night. So there's all kinds of things happening at the building. Every now and then there'll be a day free, but not very often. This is our revenue projection for this next year of 2025. We have our continued same rent that we have from Athabasca River Potters and the Hinton Art Club and the Rocky Mountain Quilters that rent rooms upstairs or in the facility, like constantly throughout the summer. Hinton Movies is projected to pay in our coffers around 21,000. That is their daily rent and their concession fee that they give us back for usage of the concession equipment in the facility. And it's also for our point of sale system. The live and private figure there is revenue that we bring in from all our user groups like Break a Leg Theater, Hinton School of Dance, Dance Summit, the choirs, corporate events, pickleball users, ticket sales that are for our live performances and the performers that we bring in. The grant, the concession money is what we take in when we are standing there selling popcorn and a few beers and stuff like that. And the grant and donation interest income is money that we get from our interest of our GICs, which is our capital fund. Yeah, asset management. We're going to try to use both words this time. And the advertising and equipment fees are renting out the equipment that we do have in the facility to our user groups, and also the pre-show fees that we run during movies. So we have those as revenues, and again, it's our live theater, movies, dance, selling our popcorn, video games, Hinton has been very supportive over the last year and a bit. We've had 3 sold out events that we actually brought in. We've had George Canyon come in last February, and that was to our amazement and wonder. We were so happy that it was sold out. And we had Music of the Night, which was another sold out event, which was a live music performance ensemble. And we had another one this fall of John Denver music. So we've realized now that we know what Hinton wants, and it's a little bit more of an upscale musician coming in, and to be able to watch a lot of people play music on stage. So we are going to kind of the events that we actually put on, not just Break a Leg and all the others, they will be kind of targeted this way. We have, yeah, there you go. So George Canyon was last year and John Denver was again this fall. We now have Stephen Lee Olson booked in for January 2025. So we're hoping we can now. We'll take that back. I'm glad this is live. But tickets will go on sale when we can in November. We also have hopefully George coming back for a Christmas tour in December of 2025. So we're kind of, I think we got our ducks in a row. We know where we're going here. Also, we still promote having comedy night at our facility. We haven't currently booked any in, like as us making a fundraiser. They're struggling just a little bit to get enough people to make it worth it. But we've got promoters booking in their comedy acts, and they're more than willing to just have their fellas come here and stand on stage and let the 40 or 50 of us laugh our heads off and enjoy it right now. We're super happy to have pickleball back in again this fall. They currently used to have 3 days that we would let them in the facility and use the court underneath the bleachers. But movies asked for 6 days or 7 days a week, and we decided that we would make a little stipulation that we would let pickleball play for 2 days, and we would let movies have 1 night a week off, so that we could kind of control the building, and then there would be time slot for maintenance and stuff like that. So it's kind of, it was a win-win for everybody, and everybody's really happy about it, actually. So we continue our Safe Walk program, still just a few walkers, but we're getting more and more as the community ages. So our grant opportunities, we think it says right there that we're researching, but definitely we have been the recipient of the Canadian Cultural Spaces grant, and that was what helped build the building initially, and we've had several grants through them for various things. We will be trying to get a secure grant through them again this year, as you can only apply every 2 years. So we'll be back on the board for that. Also the Canadian Heritage Presentation Fund. Apparently this is for live performers and musicians. So we'll be trying to get that to help assist in some of the costs it takes to bring in our live performers. So if we go to the next slide. That's all our expenses that we're gonna have this year. So some of that's gone up a little bit, salary and that kind of thing has gone up. You guys all had been given a document that had all my figures for the last 7 years on it, so hopefully we're able to have a quick look at it. It does show where we spend our money and kind of what happens with it. But salary and benefits, which is definitely Wendy and our other employee and some of our technician wages are in that figure. Our fixed costs are like things like office, internet, legal, all that kind of stuff. Our operations has gone up a little bit, and that's just because now we are paying possibly $10,000 for a performance to come in. So there's some figures that have adjusted here and there. The building expense has gone up a little bit, and that's just because we're running into, we are now 7 years in, and we're running into a few little things that need to have maintenance or replacement. So, that's where we're looking there. And also with the equipment, we are looking at, replacing the majority of our computers, and we have around 8 or 9, I believe. That's in the tech room, that's in our concession area, and that's also in our office. So that is where we're gonna hope that we can get some of the funds, put in with this grant. But also we are willing to use some of our capital budget. We know that we've got that, so even though our ask is this year is 63,000, it's $1,000 less than we asked for last year. But we know that we're gonna have to dig into that capital allowance or asset management fund to help us kind of get through all of this, the purchases that have to be done. So our asset management account is fairly substantial, but it does take care of what we think might happen to us. If our projector went down, we know that it would be at least components that maybe could be fixed, but the possibility is going to be in the near future that we will have to replace that projector. These things don't last forever, and the technology is changing. It's a little bit probably faster than we thought, or maybe, I don't know. But anyway, we do have many things, and we have a little glitch with our movie screen all of a sudden going up and down, all these kinds of things. So there are things that we have to look and take care of in that facility. So, did I forget anything? No. All right. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Questions from council, please? Trevor, go ahead.
Not really question, but thank you. But I think it's important to point out too that with that projector, our last meeting, we had a conversation, that alone is about $100,000.
Yeah.
To replace that, and things are getting older. The computers, I believe, is about a $15,000 bill to do that. You know, so we've been putting away those funds for that reason, but you know, those are the things that are coming. Another major cost potentially is the piano. That's another one. So we've been really talking about as a group, what is the capital plan for the next few years, and these are some of the majors that are coming down soon. That projector, I'm hearing it's probably in the next year or two that it's going to have to be replaced, because eventually, as Dylan said, the technology, we've got some really good techs, we've got some really good people we work with that are able to help us through and get the components, but they're running out of connections. So just to be aware of, council, but that's why this account is made, so it's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you.
Kristen, please.
Thank you through the chair. Thanks for the presentation. I agree that there's been some really high quality things that have been put on that certainly the community's really responded to, and I think that's great to see. Lots of chatter in the community about positive events, and I think that's been really good. I'm happy to see the asset management list, because it's always fun to get a facility and to get a building and to get things started up, but the reality of what that looks like going forward is always the tough thing. So I appreciate seeing the asset management strategy, and then you guys have a good understanding what those risks are, because it's very, very simple to, sometimes it's easier to show up and have your ask and keep it, really tight and really close, but the reality is one sweep of a projector going down can take out a whole organization. So I appreciate the foresight to, have these things looked after, or identified, because they are big potential risks to the long-term operation of the center itself. And I just appreciate seeing that that's part of it too. It's not just the operations that you're thinking about, the long-term, it's an investment for our community, obviously something we want to see long-term, and I'm happy to see that. The asset management version of work.
Any more questions? Well, thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us, and thank you for everything you do. But I know, speaking from personal experience, life at the theater popcorn is just.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the on the go. Hinton District Chamber of Commerce and Hinton DMO. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Hinton Historical Society. There we go. Right in front, if you like, thank you. Thank you for coming, please, it's your floor. Please start by introducing yourselves and, we look forward to your presentation, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Margaret Schultz, the Operations and Programming Manager at the Northern Rockies Museum.
I'm Edgar Godsev, a Historical Society board member.
We have some other Historical Society members and supporters in the room, if you can all give a wave. Thank you all so much for coming. And so into the presentation. It's always good to start with a review of our mandate because everything we do and everything we speak about today related to our activities in the past year and our activities in the next year grows out of this mandate. And so to start with last year, the council saw our delegation in August, which had updates of achievements in programming, historical preservation, and enhancing our visual presence and governance structure. There were a couple of things, though, that we weren't able to cover in that August delegation. One was that we renewed our accreditation with the Alberta Museums Association, which ties us to the highest standard of professional museum management in the province. And we also got a new website and updates to our brand, and you can see that on the slides there. It's really exciting to have an online and visual presence that reflects the breadth and the quality of the work we do. Now, as we've reviewed our activities for the last year, it's been exciting to see that our work actually does directly support your council vision, in that we respect the past through our professional and active historical preservation work. We help create Hinton's future by educating youth, providing a historical perspective for current affairs, and supporting the visitor economy. And we foster the rich cultural life of our community through many of the things that we do. I had a request from a councillor to report on revenue generating activities, and so here's a short list. We are currently working on securing sponsorships and corporate donations, but we do acknowledge that creating good relationships takes time, so those results are going to come in very gradually. We've had success with grants, although unfortunately they're all project specific rather than operational, so the projects are great, but that doesn't help with the operational budget. We doubled our birthday party revenues and increased gift shop sales by 27%. And some of those gift shop sales come through our wonderful visitors. This slide breaks down our visitor numbers between the dates on the top by their purpose of the visit, and it shows an anticipated peak in the summer. The total number represents a 20% increase from our last year numbers. And we felt that it was important to highlight that a number at the museum is much more than a figure. For example, this slide shows the kinds of answers that visitors, both locals and travelers, find at the museum because they've had time to relax and generate interest in our region. And these are all real life examples. Did not make these up. It is always incredible to be able to connect people with our area on the move. All that work in the past year was supported by last year's civic agency grant of $55,000. And as always, our main expenditures are staffing, insurance, utilities, and maintenance. These elements are essential to fulfilling our mandate, as our full-time staff position is a tool that enables us to achieve consistency and professionalism in our work. And the operational costs mentioned are basically what it takes to keep our institution open and lit and maintained.
I will cover our plans for 2025. Our assistant manager and summer assistant projects will include exhibit development, event planning, and collections management. We have 3 exhibit rooms where the exhibits change. In the coming year, each room will have at least one new or updated exhibit, including a traveling exhibit on avalanche history in Canada. We're making improvements to the museum tour, including translating a new tour booklet into multiple languages and reworking our tour training to make our in-person tour a meticulously researched and one-of-a-kind experience. We're developing our sponsorships program to increase community investment in the museum, and we're actively working to stabilize and continue our previous successes, such as school programs, volunteer program, online presence, collections management, events, railcar, and canoe program. Budget. Under revenues, we have included new lines for sponsorships, corporate memberships, and internship grants. We project a total expected revenue of $143,200, including $65,000 from the town of Hinton. The total expenditure forecast is $142,600. Request. We are requesting $65,000, reflecting a consistent need for the ever-growing work we do. Our museum visitor numbers indicate accomplishment, but numbers alone do not capture the museum's impact nor its multifaceted achievements. This grant represents an investment in creating the future of Hinton. We provide an active economic contribution to our town, particularly with the visitor economy. We do historical preservation work that no other institution will. Now, we might add one last thought. Having a history makes the town feel like a real home rather than simply a place of work. When you're connected to history of an area, you also feel like you belong in the future of that community. Thank you for your time. We'll take questions.
Questions or comments from council, please? River?
Just a quick question on the revenues. I know that we also have the canoe, and that, does that pretty much everyone?
Through the chair to Councillor Haas. It wasn't a noticeable increase from last year, particularly because the Canadian Voyageur Brigade Society Brigade didn't happen. And that usually represents a rental of about $1,500. That didn't happen this year, so we actually were down. It has a lot of potential. So as we said, we're working on that within our capacity to continue to pick that up.
And if I may follow up on that, wasn't it this year too that you increased the number of people that can actually take tours of and stuff? Wasn't there a class or something that people had to take, which could increase the likelihood for next year?
Yeah, again, through the chair to Councillor Haas. We did a big canoe leader course, and some of the participants are actually in this final picture. It was me, a group of local teachers, and then another educator who works at the forestry training school, who took the course that enables you to confidently and also legally take out large groups of people in Voyageur canoes. Me and Hunter in the yellow ball cap took out Discovery Camp one day this year. And so again, it's slow growth, but that is a really big opportunity. And we do hope to run that course again in the future because it was really fun. It's a really cool way to get community members on the water into the boat.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you for coming to present to us, and thank you for everything you do. And your information will be of great value during budget discussions. Thank you very much for coming.
For having us.
You're next.
If you all want to speak up now.
Thank you. There's happy that's.
Pretty good that way too.
Oh.
I think we're on to the Hinton District Chamber of Commerce and Hinton Destination Management and Organization Society. Correct?
Yeah.
Just because I'm bigger.
The floor is yours. Please start by introducing yourself.
I'm Tyler Waugh, Executive Director of the Hinton District Chamber of Commerce.
And my name is Erin Reid. I am the project director for the Hinton Destination Management Organization Society.
You may be wondering why we're presenting together tonight, and it's because this kind of represents a passing of the baton for the visitor economy. Council has provided between $30,000 and $34,000 for summer staffing of the VIC after Travel Alberta pulled out a number of years ago. I'm here as the chamber to report kind of some of the observations and some of the data from the summer visitation this year. And then we'll be moving on, and Erin will be presenting an update on behalf of the Destination Management Organization. So overall, individuals welcomed at the VIC this summer, lower than last year. And that's between May long weekend and the end of September. But again, September, due to the Jasper fire, showed a large influx of visitors. It was not business as usual this summer because of the fire. Everything was pretty standard right up until the 21st of July. And then we changed tack the week following the fire, had extended hours and services just to deal with some of the stranded travelers that, you know, had to change tack and direction, and also dealing with some of the evacuees that were starting to trickle in. It was a little quieter through August, but September was just unreal, probably averaged about 65 people per day, which from all the records I've gone through is a visitation record in the month of September. Which made us incredibly busy through that month. So about 40% of the visitors were European, most of them hailing from Germany, UK, Italy, and I forgot to mention France in that list as well. Another 30% predominantly from Eastern Canada and Southern United States. And then the rest were kind of Western Canada local. Just chatting with them, the reason this demographic showed up in large numbers in September, retirees, Europeans looking to come after the summer, and they come to see the entire region, not just in Jasper. So their plans weren't changed. Actually, a couple of them weren't even aware there was a fire in Jasper. They just came anyways. So one of the things that changed post fire in Jasper was the average length of stay this year was longer. A lot of people booking in Hinton as opposed to in Jasper with the reduction in the number of rooms available. The requested community info, Beaver Boardwalk, as always, was always one of the first things asked about. Other outdoor amenities like disc golf, the golf course, mountain bike park and trails, always quite a lot of inquiries as well. Rainy days, people asking about what to do indoors. Some people specifically asking, you know, if the Rockies Museum was in here earlier. They're one of the historical information is one of the things that's always kind of asked about at the visitor center. And then followed by Hinton Movies and the recreation center for things like swimming. We had an opportunity this year, because Jasper was mostly closed in the summer, to highlight a lot of the things outside of the park. Some of the main things that our staff and myself in September were focusing on was getting people up and down Highway 40. There's a lot of hidden gems up and down there, as far south as the Garden Divide, up to Rock Lake. And also, you know, attractions like the Hoodoos, which are kind of hidden away off the beaten path that people would be looking to do. And this comes to kind of the partnership history that I was with Tom tonight. Back in about 2020, Travel Alberta, who pumped a lot of funding into Operation the Visitor Center, pulled out, as they did in a number of other centers across Alberta. And the town and the chamber partnered at that point. Chamber with kind of the sweat equity and applying for and managing grants, and the town putting in seed money. One for the ongoing summer operation of the VIC, and then two, seed money to really reinvigorate the push to develop a DMO. So what you're seeing here tonight is kind of the passing of the baton to the Destination Management Organization. This could not have been done, without the support of council and the town. The seed money to get those grants allowed us to, as the chamber, to go out and get a strong project coordinator who over the last couple of years has really taken this to the next level and made this, transformed this from a theoretical exercise to something that's actually been put in play. And is ready to really hit the ground running. I also want to really give credit to, honestly, a DMO has been something that's been talked about in Hinton for more than a decade now. So we want to take this opportunity to thank a lot of the early volunteers, Ener, Danner. Some of these early iterations of the DMO that it's their work that was kind of built upon. And now we're at a point where we're kind of executing the vision that the town, the chamber partnered on putting in play a number of years ago. And that is a professional, organized group with skin in the game that is going to take the lead on driving the visitor economy and all the potential that it has. So with that, I'll kind of hand it over to Erin and she can update you on the actual progress of the DMO.
Thank you, John. I missed that one. All right. Yeah, so thank you to Tyler and Tyler's predecessor, Natalie as well, Calvin. You know, and the town of Hinton. I think, you know, without the chamber and the town collaborating, we definitely wouldn't be where we are today. So the 2024 milestones, I've presented previously to you about 2023 milestones. So this year, we've really seen some growth in leaps and bounds. As an organization, I still like to use the analogy that we're crawling. We're an infant still, but we are a registered non-for-profit society with the government of Alberta. We have a strong board made up primarily of hotels, but also others, non-profits and you know, provincial parks, you know, people that have been invested in this for many, many years. We have completed our website, our branding, everything's live and running. We received a $145,000 grant from Travel Alberta this year, which will run us for our marketing activities and strategic planning from approximately April, May of this year, right the way through until March of next year. Within that funding, we've also completed winter, summer and fall photo and video shoots. So our assets are growing and combined with that, I don't know if anyone is aware of it yet, but Sherpa Cinema was also here this summer and completing a video specifically for Travel Alberta to promote Hinton as a destination. And it's absolutely beautiful. And if you haven't seen it, it will be coming out very soon. Marketing campaigns for the winter and summer were successfully executed, and we're now in a fall campaign, moving into a winter campaign so at the end of November. We have advisory committees, they're holding regular meetings and providing that advice to then go to the DMO board. We also have 6 major hoteliers paying the DMF, which represents about 50%, just under 50% of our bed base in Hinton, with another 10% of that bed base about to be implementing the DMF right now. We have started our strategic planning, which is going to be a 3 to 5 year roadmap. So we had some discovery sessions earlier this month. We'll be doing sessions where we're getting feedback at the end of this month, with the hope that we'll have the final plan delivered by the end of this year, ready to get going into 2025. We also have a new membership structure for hotelier businesses to join the DMF and the DMO. That will be available once the agreement has been finalized from the federal perspective, sometime in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And I'm projecting that somewhere between 8 to 10 businesses would sign up. You know, non-hotelier businesses should sign up by the end of this year. We have a lot of interest, and we've specifically developed this in a way that it is approachable for non-hotelier businesses to get involved. So with regards to the Visitor Information Centre transition, the Chamber of Commerce and the DMO have developed a plan to transition the operation of the VIC over to the Destination Management Organisation for 2025. The DMO would like to sublease the lower level of the Visitor Information Centre from the Chamber of Commerce, and we're proposing to work with administration in 2025 for a future agreement around the VIC. And then that moves us into our request for this afternoon. As you know, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the Visitor Information Centre is an aging building. We are hoping to get some capital to invest in this building to make the lower level not just a really inviting guest interface, but also some really usable office space. Right now it feels very warehousey, and it wouldn't really be suitable for potential DMO staff to be working as office space in there. So we're looking for 34,000 for capital improvements to get this started. Since 2020, council has been contributing this funding for summer staffing of the VIC. So what we're aiming for is a bit of a progression. So this is no longer an operational staffing request, but a capital request for a town-owned building to make some of these changes to, progress it into a building that we can use for office and really make sure that that guest interface is a welcoming and inviting and brand forward space. Beyond that, and this isn't really a financial ask, but more just a general, request as you're going through your planning. The DMO is investing heavily to bring visitors to this region. And we really, we would really want to see everyone come and support the local economy. We support and we recognize the need for more experiences in the region to continue attracting more visitors. And so we're hoping that council can continue to invest and develop and support the enhancement of that usable product, those tourism experiences, not just for the tourist, but also for our residents as well, because everything that you can do in Hinton and the Northern Rockies, it's positive for the visitor, but it's also positive for our residents as well. So just some examples, the winter experience at Maxwell Lake, it could include ice skating again, or, we could continue to grow our winter event offerings, particularly the winter. We want to see more visitors come to Hinton and the region in the winter, in the spring, in the fall, in those quieter times. So events, things that people can do from an experience perspective is really appreciated at those times to, help our visitor economy at those periods. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Okay, all right. Any questions?
Questions from council?
To the chair, thank you for the presentation. I think that it was a very well done snapshot of kind of your milestones and what's moving ahead. I think it's nice to see the hoteliers picking up on some of what this is and starting to understand what this is growing to in that capacity and all those things. I'm excited to see the new videos and I actually, before this, didn't know there was a hintonrockies.com website, so that's good to know. So thanks for the information and I think it's nice to see that up and running and there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes to move the needle. So we appreciate all the hard work that everybody's done and the passing of the baton. I think it's a great success. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Again, thank you for the presentation and iteration of the capital investment. I do want to thank you from the BBOC committee too for that video on the Beaver Boardwalk. It was very well done and really like a local was used as well, so it just kind of makes it I don't know, it's just nice to see the local face on there. So it was really well done. And all the other things too, Facebook message, Facebook things and stuff. So it's really growing and it's good to see the hoteliers getting on board. Good to see that others, I think you said another 6 or 10 are going to be by the end of 2024. So that's excellent to hear. So yeah, thank you.
Are we seeing results on the stuff you're doing in terms of actual number of visitors more that are coming? What are the results on the stuff you're doing? How do we see that? Judge that?
So we share results with our board, with the members that are contributing. I didn't prepare that for today. I don't see why we could share it. I would probably just want to connect with the board and make sure that they're comfortable with it. But I can say things like our results have been really impressive. And I'm actually blown away by, if I look at the dollars that we're spending from a marketing perspective, which, compared to other DMs in the region are quite small because we're still, and I'll use the word infants again. Our return on investment is far beyond what we would be seeing in other DMOs. It's outperforming other markets that I've been involved with and I've been able to see results on. So I think, everything is feeling really positive right now. conversions are a tricky one for us to track. So something that we're aiming for, like one of our aims from a Travel Alberta perspective in order to get our grant funding is that we achieve 5% increase in our hotel occupancy year over year. So it's hard for us to say, to follow the bouncing ball to say, okay, they've seen this ad, they've gone to the website, they've been referred to a shareholder, like a hotel, and now they've booked, just simply because we lose that transition from the referral stage to whether they book or not. That will hopefully come in future years, but we can track our occupancy levels on a destination basis and see whether we're moving that way. So we're tracking that every 12 months in order to meet our grant funding. The grant that we had last winter and that I was able to get results from last winter showed that while our occupancy was didn't quite hit the full 5%, we grew slightly. So I think we grew maybe 2 or 3% if I remember correctly. What we did grow was our average daily revenue, so the ADR, which is how much the hotel charges per night. And so that is also a positive indicator that there is higher demand at different peak periods that allows them to increase their rate, which also increases what they're paying to the DMO because it's based on a nightly revenue and it's a 2% charge. So yes, we can track and yes, potentially in the spring of next year, we would have that information.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
Well, that's good to know there's an objective measurement of success. That's appreciated.
Absolutely.
That's good. My only other question would be, is this like, how much did we give the chamber and tourism last year together? It was more than 34,000.
34,000 for the summer operations for the summer staffing.
Okay, we didn't give chamber money for other things? Or no?
The town is a sponsor, and the town is a sponsor and a member in District Chamber of Commerce.
Right, okay, that's fine, thanks. Any more questions? No? Well, thank you very much for coming. And thank you for what you did for the folks during the fire, it was appreciated. And your comments about what happened during the fire and us becoming reliant on tourism in Jasper and having to build up our tourism experiences. I'm sure that's something we all take to heed. And thank you for coming. Welcome to stay. The floor is yours. Please start by introducing yourself and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having us tonight. And so we're here on behalf of the Hinton Municipal Library Board. My name is Sue Armstrong, and I'm the chair of the library board. I've been with the board for 3 years, but this last year I've been the chair. And helping me out tonight is Shannon.
Yes, I'm a manager of the Hinton Municipal Library. Thank you all for listening to us today. We're going to be tag teaming this presentation. So our goal is to present the library's budget request for 2025, but in doing so, we also want to showcase what we're able to accomplish with the funding we received last year.
Also with us tonight is Mike Story. Mike is also on the board, so he's just here for some moral support. I think we're also very lucky to have some members of the newly minted Friends of the Library. So thanks very much for coming out tonight, Susan, to help support the library as well. So we're going to start out. I'm going to go as quickly as I can. I've got a lot to say, but I know we've got a bit of a constrained time. So what is a library? And typically people think first and foremost that a library is the repository of books and information. Okay, that makes sense. But our library is much, much more than that.
Above and beyond the obvious books and information, the library is the hub of the community. Its mandate is set by the needs of the community. The board has a social contract with the ratepayers of Hinton and Yellowhead County to provide for programming and services that best serve these ratepayers. So let me tell you a few stories, they'll be short stories, about how the library is servicing the community. The library provides for early literacy through things like the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, so our children are ready for school. The library provides the lonely new mom a place to meet other moms when they bring their tots to story time, so that their lives are enriched by social connections. The library provides a place for part-time dads to bring their kids to play board games and to read together, thus enhancing the family bonding. The library provides computers and internet access for those who do not have access to apply for jobs, connects with friends and family, thereby improving access to the world. The library provides access to printers and copiers, invaluable for new Canadians trying to access government documents, and this year for Jasperites printing off insurance forms. The library provides a space for seniors to meet up and to chat and to knit, improving their social connections. The library provides quiet study rooms for teenagers to study for finals when they may be experiencing some chaos at home. The library provides, the library fills a gap left now that the schools no longer have their own libraries. The library supports homeschooling for families, providing access to resources and information. The library provides access to the history of Hinton and the area through the town's archives. But most importantly, the library is a public indoor space for everyone. People can just be and just exist. I'm not aware of any other indoor space in Hinton where people can just be. Shannon will now take over and present some of the successes and statistics from the last year.
So just going over some of what we've had in the last year. So library cards, as you can see, the number of library cards issued annually has increased steadily over the past few years, and especially in comparison to some of our neighboring communities. Last year, we set the goal of increasing our library card membership numbers, and we were able to achieve that goal. So hoping for even more next year. Circulation has been steady. This is mostly just to show that even though we live in very much a digital age right now, this is all the physical circulation that we have at the library. So there continues to be a steady increase in the circulation of physical items, even as people are turning to a lot of digital resources. This is the total e-resource circulation per year. So we're seeing that steady high usage for things like Overdrive, Hoopla, and Cloud Library, which is our three main e-resources for accessing ebooks and audiobooks. There'll be even higher numbers, especially as the winter comes up, and people can do a bit more of the digital resources. So. Public computers and Wi-Fi usage, that's also been increasing, especially the public Wi-Fi sessions. So what we're seeing there is a lot more people coming in with their own devices to use our Wi-Fi. So setting up camp with their phones or their laptops or their iPads and things like that to get some knowledge out of the library. So the new study pods at the library after renovations are serving that group of people quite nicely. So excited about that. The bookings, we've had steady bookings for our study rooms, so they're being used weekly, if not daily. Our library is one of the only places in town where you can get a proctored exam, so we have had about 30 exams this year so far. Huge advantage to people who are especially doing a lot of virtual courses. We're basically one of the only places where they can kind of finish off their finals. We introduced the professional opportunities development space, which we'll get into a little more detail later on. We've had about 20 individual bookings since we opened in April. And the Tom Pearson Member, of course, is consistently getting bookings as well for a variety of uses. Things like birthday parties, presentations, meetings, workshops, visitation services, any number of things. And we're often an affordable option for nonprofits. Program attendance. So this is basically just to show that we're kind of hitting every demographic. This is a variety of different types of programs, including in person, including take-home kits, things like that. So it also includes some of the collaborations we've had with other organizations. So STEAM clubs that have happened at the museum, garden clubs that happen at the community garden center, things like that. We're seeing a lot of program participation, especially for families that are coming in. So it's been great to see. Our major achievement for the year, it's been kind of a busy year. For programming successes, of course, our baby buzz kits are consistently in high turnout. So we give out about 60 kits every year, or every month, sorry. And then adult classes are always maxed out with a waiting list. So they're seeing a lot of important connections that people are making at these craft nights, kind of an opportunity for moms to step away from their families, things like that. 1,000 books before kindergarten. This was launched in September. We already had a few graduates, so we're really excited about that. Well done to Sally. Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Currently, we have a little over 300 kids in Hinton who are registered for the program, and almost 800 kids that have graduated. So this is again something that makes our library kind of unique in terms of services that we're providing. There's a lot of communities that aren't lucky enough to have something like this, so we're really grateful for our collaboration with the Rotary Club to be involved. Of course, the Hinton Municipal Library had a 40th anniversary. The major collaboration there was with CBC, who came out for that. They created a lot of connections that continue to be drawn upon to the benefit of this community, so that's been really exciting. It was an opportunity to highlight local people and our events on a national scale. The event saw about 400 people come out. We were able to have local musicians, local catering, business, as well as artists from all parts of the community and different art forms displayed from the library. So that was a really fantastic success that we had. Professional Opportunities Development Space, of course, like I mentioned, that was opened up this year. This was funded through the Public Library Grant for Skill Development in Rural Alberta. So this was, the purpose was to support self-learning endeavors, including things like job applications, trades education, efforts to learn English, or to improve digital literacy skills, among other things. The support that this service offers to the trade sector also makes Hinton unique, Hinton Library unique across the province, as we were actually the first public library to work with NATE to be able to provide these modules to our community. It's been a huge benefit to apprentices, and we even had somebody drive in from Edson just to take practice exams in the space to get ready for the next day. Summer Reading Club has always been a huge hit every summer. This year we had the Hinton community read for a total of over 4,390 hours. And so we're hoping to increase those numbers next year as well. Then we have our wildfire response. So the library collaborated with FCSS to host a 72-hour preparedness workshop with speakers from AMA. And for that workshop, we provided the space, and we also used a $500 grant that we got from FireSmart to provide 72 emergency prep aids and UV attendance there. After the fire in Jasper, the library was a safe haven for many evacuees who were displaced, serving a variety of functions in the weeks following the evacuation. The library manager from Jasper actually spent her days working in one of our study rooms when she recovered. She said it best when she spoke of the library as a third space for evacuees. She said, when your life is suddenly transformed into a room, that third space is suddenly very important. So we're really happy to provide that. We get a variety of community feedback. There are a few of the written correspondences we get, but we get a lot of positive feedback verbally as well, whether that's in the library itself or just while we're out in the community. So we always welcome those. All things 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Great, thanks. Okay, so the goals for 2025. So the library board in 2025 needs to adopt a new plan of service, aka the strategic plan. And we're hoping to have that all finished up by the beginning of the year. Another goal for 2025 is to continue to collaborate with other agencies within the town. For example, the museum, FCSS, Family Resource Network, and so on. The library will continue to try to fill gaps where the other agencies' programmings have been reduced. The library will try to address emerging community gaps like computer coding skills. We propose to improve our collection, including more language resources, improve our French collection, and also add Tagalog. Pardon me, say that.
Tagalog.
Okay, sorry about that, I just can't get that word, thank you. We're gonna also look for funding opportunities for archive improvements. We're really wanting to try to improve that space, improve the shelving and so on. But we just haven't been able to find the monies available to do that. I know for our 2025 budget, there are no capital or special projects proposed for next year. I've already alluded to this, but the Friends of the Library were very excited to have the inaugural first AGM for our Friends of the Library group, and that AGM was last night. It was very exciting. The bylaws have been signed off, and so we're looking forward to working in partnership with the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library will be providing us with help with advocacy, increased public awareness of the library, and so on within the community. So now, why we're here. The library board's budget request for this year is $587,391. This is the normal operating budget for the library at its current level of service and includes, as I said, no capital projects or special initiatives. Before closing and inviting questions, we invite council to visit the library as soon as they can to see the newly completed upgrades that have taken place. It looks amazing. These upgrades long overdue. We've upgraded the children's area by expanding shelving space and providing more room for families to spend time in the library. There's more sensory items that are more engaging for our youngest patrons. The upgrades have also included improvements to the back study space area and reorganization of the collections for easier navigation. It does look amazing. Please come and visit because the improvements are just astounding. Very excited. So thank you very much for listening to us this evening, and we're open for any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions and comments? Please go ahead.
Thank you. I think it's what I got out of the presentation. It's always fascinating for me to see the continued adaptability of the library program throughout the years and how we have, you know, very much the digital age and all those things, but how the library has still been able to maintain and be that hub in the different ways. And I think you guys should be applauded for that kind of continued growth and adaptability to pivoting to those different programs that keeps the library relevant and still that community space that's so desired and required by so many different people at different stages in their life. So I just wanted to say, I think that's very evident in your presentation that continues to be a obvious goal. And it was very, very well done, and I'll certainly make the time to pop it and see what you guys have done. Awesome, thank you.
Just a quick, yeah.
Please go ahead.
Just to also emphasize, yeah, I had the opportunity to go in on Sunday, had some more photocopying to do, and it does look amazing in there. It looks so much cleaner, so much more organized, a lot more room as well, less cluttered. It is in the fact we removed the desk in the back and made that the pod, those are the pods, study pods. New desks in there too, I saw. So a lot of, you know, it just did a good facelift, you know, so, and I want to thank, you know, to the staff who put a lot of work in. I understand our manager was there quite long hours, you know, so it is very, so I do encourage everybody to look at it. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any revenues or expenses for like 2023, 2024, including the status of the reserves? We had discussion on reserves last year, so I'm sure there's a number of councilors that would be interested in having that information during budget.
Yeah, like, is the question about how much we have left in our reserves or what information?
Right, well, I know what the reserves say you have in the consolidated financial statements at the end of 2023. What are they projected to be at the end of 2024? That sort of information.
Yeah, and
Also, they've given us any, you know, proof that, you know, any financial information we're missing.
I think we're a little bit confused by the question. So our board is going to be adopting the budget on Monday.
Okay.
And then we provide that to the
We'll get
town.
that.
And so I'm assuming then that any of the pertinent sections that you might know, I don't necessarily understand where council goes from here with this budget information. As an agency, I'm not sure if you look at all of the details of our budget or just certain aspects of it. Maybe, I'm not sure if anyone can help answer Councilor Taylor's question. of
Well,
where
it's
we
just
go
that
from here.
normally we get like expenses and revenue information that help us make decisions, and
Right.
we've had discussions with you in the past on the status of reserves, so that would be useful as well.
Right,
And if that's coming in the information you're gonna finalize,
it
then
is.
that's perfect, and we have that for budget, that's
Sure.
all. I want.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, as our chair said, yeah, it will be coming, and I believe during our budget deliberations, the discussion is to both have our manager, but also the president of the board present. You know, being as how we are responsible for that budget, but I can assure council, there's pretty much nothing in the capital fund at this moment, because we did the facelift. So it'll be, I think, a regular ask to start building it again for future, but right now it's pretty much zero. That is in the capital. So in the reserves, sorry, in the reserves, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you very much, and
Thanks for having us. Thank
thank you very much for coming. Anybody need a break?
We do, Mr. Chair.
No, I'm good to go, and we're talking. So we move on to 5.1 draft SCSS level of service policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and brought Ms. Bouchard today to present.
Good afternoon, members of council. It's reported the core committee following the direction from committee of the whole on March 26, 2025. A service level review helps council and administration determine if the municipal service is meeting the community needs and expectations appropriately and whether municipal best practices are being undertaken. Program and service reviews and FCSS are undertaken administratively throughout the year. Through these reviews at a municipal and provincial level, administration also ensures that services provide a tangible benefit for the effort to meet the community needs are aligned with municipal best practices. The town of Hinton selected an independent contractor, Wise Station, who began a comparative analysis study on June 2nd, 2024. That compared the social services delivered by the town of Hinton to 7 municipalities. Wise Station compiled the data, developed recommendations, and produced a final report on October 2nd. One of the main takeaways Wise Station noted is that Hinton is offering a comparable number and variety of programs and services to many of the other municipalities, each tailored to the unique needs of their respective communities. The report proposed no changes to the current level of service and developed their first recommendation to consider improving the level of service as a baseline. Wise Station compiled their findings and concluded their report in stating the role of social support programs and services as conveners for a larger social support ecosystem is of critical importance for smaller rural communities. In this way, FCSS programs provide an impact beyond what their raw dollar numbers would suggest, helping build and maintain the societal pillars of their communities. Seeking direction from council to formalize the Hinton FCSS level of service with consideration of Wise Station's report and the additional resources provided. Administration requests that a committee refer the draft level FCSS level of service policy CS 7202 to a future council meeting for decision. And thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions and comments? I have a question or two.
Yeah.
Some of your information stated that FCSS is offering a comparable number and variety of programs to many other communities. How does that comment reconcile with the, on page 10 of the, report that we looked at? That said that we're offering approximately 20 core programs, whereas, a lot of the communities around us are offering, 35, 38. So those, how do you make those statements, statements? Let me explain those two different statements.
So through to the chair. And so that would be, they compared the programs what each municipality is offering. And so if you look on page 13, it's the type of programs that are being offered. So all the programs that are being offered in those municipalities, they're all similar. Hinton is not offering anything much different than the other FCSSs in the other municipalities.
We're offering less, but we're not offering anything different. That's what your answers.
Through to the chair, so we're offering, so it's in core programs on page 13. And then you'll see non-core, I'm sorry. Yeah, on page 13, core programs, and it says below we're not offering anything different other than what's noted, community signage was the only program that's different, and that's actually through a grant that we received. So that's where it would be delivered through the other FCSSs if they apply for funding through the Rural Mental Health Project. Yeah. And every project's different based on their application. So aside from that, all of our programs are similar offerings throughout the municipalities.
Okay. Sorry to be difficult, I don't get it. Most communities offer 24 programs. Now we're offering 35. So, did you give that? Is that the explanation that you just gave me?
So for your, through the chair, for your comments, so when they're comparing, they compared program numbers, core and non-core, and then they also compared what types of programs municipalities are offering. So what they're being offered, like similar, is on page 13, and then so that's one that they're comparing programs. And then if you go to core and non-core programs, the number that's being delivered from municipalities, that's on page 11 and 12. That's where you'll see it differ a little bit, but core programs are higher, but comparable to Whitecourt, and then non-core is a little bit of a difference, but comparable to the larger department structures like Whitecourt.
Okay. Comments or questions? I had one more. You mentioned that the 440,000 is, I can't remember the email, the wording on the email, but that's the funding that's over the core level of funding that we're being given. We can find that.
Through the chair.
Yeah, roughly 440,000 in cuts is, I think, the way you worded that. So that's in addition to the core 80-20 that we do provide and get from the government of Alberta, and provide 440 just over and above that. So does the 20% include part of the 440? Or the 440 is over and above the 80-20? You probably saying.
Through the chair.
I don't quite understand about this.
Yes, so through to the chair. The 440 is outside of the 80-20.
80-20, okay, so that's it. Sure.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, So in regards to that, I guess I'm curious. Because there was a number, well, there's 4 in particular, in that email that were considered under that 440,000 that's outside of the core. So what I'm, I guess, those particular programs would not fall under the 80-20, and is my understanding. And why is it that they don't fall under that? Like, what, is there a certain criteria that 80-20 is required? If I'm trying to understand, the government funds this amount, but why won't they necessarily fund these particular programs? Why do they fund those? I'm trying to understand that.
Through to the chair.
If I'm making sense, yeah.
Yeah, through to the chair. So, for example, the after school program,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a different funding structure, so fees for service.
Okay.
So one of, under the mandate of FCSS, for example, province, you're not to charge for service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I have another question. You had indicated in the correspondence that you said that if we had to reduce to $440,000, that would approximately cut 38 specific programs. But it's just curious, page 10 says that we have 35 programs. So one of these things we've been doing something. Do we'll have to cut more programs than we have, or does this 4 programs doesn't include indirect programs?
Through to the chair. So a few programs that were added in there, one would be like Royal River Stream. That is being offered out of our portfolios. So with cutting some of those funds, it would also cut partial administration as well.
Oh, I see, so it includes other things that aren't part of your official program. That weren't part of this report. Okay. Okay,
Thank you. I'd like to take the recommended action of council or further draft FCSS level of service policy CS 7202 to a future council meeting for decision. And if I may speak to it, Chair.
Please go ahead.
At this time, I'm not interested in changing our FCSS level of service policy. I think FCSS is doing a great job in our community, and I'm happy to see that. I'm also happy to see that we've gotten a report back that shows we're doing many of the same and similar programs of our comparator communities. We're spending about the same as Whitecourt, which I think is a great comparator community, same as Edson on our FCSS programming. Obviously, these are not apples to apples comparisons with what the programs are. Our communities are all unique and different, but I'm extraordinarily happy with our FCSS, and I want to see our level of service continue. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Comments or questions? Kristen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that this report has been a good, bit of a deep dive into trying to understand what our offerings are, you know, again, compared to our relative communities. And when I look at the individual programs, I do think that there could be some value in the future of us trying to understand a bit more what the details are, what these programs are offering and that true value. I think it's easy, you know, if you're a mom with young kids, you're gonna understand all those programs. If you're working with seniors, you're gonna understand senior programs. If you're, you know, those different things, I think there's a lot of value to, you know, continuing to educate council and the community on the value of what programming is. I do think overall, the work that FCSS does in communities is what takes a municipality and turns it into a community. And there's a ton of value in what's being given on all these different layers. So I do think there is value definitely in this exercise. But I do think some continued education for us on what some of the details of the programs are, so that we have a, you know, kind of that good understanding. I don't know what that looks like, but I think there's just a lot of value there for us, and I do think the report was valuable, so I will support this motion.
Please go ahead.
I too, I'm in support of this. I mean, I really appreciated when we had the the contractor come in, and I realized the difficulty, and I liked how she put it, it's not only just apples and oranges, but it was staplers and pens or something too, like it's, every community is unique and different in the eyes of FCSS there. And, you know, I think that overall, we've got a comparison to other communities, but then we've also adapted to other areas that are necessary. So I'm thinking, you know, for example, the after school program, you know, the impact that we have on parents' ability to where will the kids go after school? Will that impact their work environment? And will, you know, we have a limited amount of childcare in our community, so it was a vital. We're not duplicating, we're filling a gap that was there. And I think that's the fluidness of SCSS in all communities, is to look at what is the community's needs, and then can we adapt to it? And I think that we've done a good job of that, and a lot of good partnerships as well, a lot of great grants that we've gotten. So I'm too happy with the service at this time. I do though think that the recommendation that a strategic plan be established with the collaboration of both administration and council, that will help better understand and also steer some direction and have some of that in the conversation. So I'm hoping that that's something that comes later after, you know, after budget, and take a look at that as a council for consideration, because I think that's something that's vital that we have not done. Had that discussion. We hear reports back, but it's hard to have input. So I think those strategic plan idea was great. So thank you.
Thanks. My concern with the level of service document as written is that I don't know that we've had a thorough and adequate discussion of the 440 before we talk about this document, and I'm a little bit worried that by approving this document as written, with no qualifiers on when we go over the 2020 grant or why we go over, that we are taking on provincial responsibility relating to homelessness, poverty, domestic violence, mental health, aging in place, child development and well-being, and the remaining 3 programs. And we're gonna make those joint responsibilities, because there's nothing in here that says fulfill the provincial grant and or do these other programs, but based on funding or something else happening. So this almost seems to me to hardwire in us taking on responsibilities. And I have enough concerns with the report that was provided that had the 440 number that's given that that we have gone over that funding on a variety of programs, and you've said that in the emails that you've sent. So to me, to sign off on a policy like this, before we've had that detailed discussion on those programs to understand why we're going over that program, and where other communities specifically sit with that program, why we're funding it when the provincial government won't fund it, and perhaps 1 or 2 of the other communities around us will fund it, and understanding that. And the hardwiring in that number is a bit problematic to me. And part of the trouble is this 400 and whatever it is, $40,000, you know, that adds up to 1.1 million we're spending on nonprofits, and that's 1.5 million we're spending on these kind of programs. We're going to be asking our citizens, some of which don't make a lot of money, to pay for utility fee increase. People making $2,000 not paying for utility fee increases. In these programs that we have the unanswered questions on, plus the other programs that we're spending money on, could be going to help citizens, and that's how we're engaging the town. Thanks. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would have a question, I guess to administration, but maybe to council. The report makes 8 macro level recommendations to help determine and take steps towards how FCSS efficiency may be improved. Are those recommendations going to be taken into consideration by FCSS and community services in bringing budget forward? Would there need to be a direction from council to adopt any of those recommendations?
through the chair to members of council. So one of the things that we do when we get a report like this is we'll just develop an action go forward list. Bring this forward to council at some point in time. There's quite a few recommendations that don't require any council involvement, the strategic plan being one. So that's something that we could bring forward to 2025. So if you'd like to make a motion related to that one specifically, if there's we can, but you know, as a part of our job in looking at this report and deciding how we want to implement these recommendations, that's part of the ongoing conversation.
Oh, please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair, just to clarify with administration, when you said if we'd like to make a motion on that specifically towards that strategic plan for FCSS. I'll be interested in making a motion after we dealt with this one. Thank you, Chair.
Any comments on the motion on the floor? Okay, well, let's vote on that the committee refer the draft FCSS level of service policy. CS 7200 to a future council meeting for decision. Please vote for or against. Thank you.
In favor, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Albert's in favor. Okay, that passes 4-1. Thanks. Any more motions related to this topic, please? Go ahead.
And I'd like to seek consensus that committee direct administration to return a FCSS strategic plan to a future.
You want to speak to that or you want to list it?
I can speak to it briefly. This our CAO mentioned, if council is of the interest in having that strategic plan done, we should make a motion. I'm very interested in seeing a strategic plan for FCSS. And I'm very interested in tracking that is getting done by administration. It's the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Comments or questions? Trevor?
Yeah, and I definitely am supportive of this, as I said, I think that's a vital part. For council to have that conversation with FCSS and to better understand the impact. You know, why what is being done, the impact that has, and then it gives us an opportunity for input. From council's perspective on, you know, any input on the program itself to a degree. Understanding a little bit more. Also, it gives us an opportunity. I mean, there's a resolution at Alberta Munis to advocate for more FCSS funding. So this way, it gives us more, I think, ability to advocate for more funding. So we aren't spending taxpayers' dollars on some things that, quite frankly, should be the province's responsibility. So I think it gives us that opportunity as well, being creating that strategic plan. So. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Please go ahead.
I do have a question, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this question was here or after council's voted on this one, but the other 7 recommendations, I see. I personally see value in most of them. So I'm just wondering, would those other 7 recommendations be adopted by administration into the strategic plan, or would that require additional direction for council?
Through the chair, members of council, I don't think it does. There's some that are very administrative in nature, and some are good recommendations that would need to be brought to the floor when we're collaborating and building that plan. You know, like increased transparency and how do we look at that going forward, those types of recommendations, those are the types of things that would be incorporated into strategic document or a forward-looking document for SCSS.
I can follow up there, Mr. Leader. So would council see the draft strategic plan, FCSS strategic plan before it was finalized? Would council approve it?
Through the chair, council would be partners in creating the document from a more grassroots level. So it would be a collaboration in order to build it, ultimately then go to council in order to approve.
Okay. I can follow up once more, Mr. Leader. So with that understanding that those other 7 recommendations will very likely be adopted into the strategic plan. I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with supporting the motion. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to ask council a question. What do you see this strategic plan giving us? Let's say the level of service document doesn't give us, that'll help us in the future. Please,
You're asking my question?
anybody, especially people who spoke a lot of promotion.
I think for me, it will answer, but I'm excited to see what comes out of the FCSS strategic plan that aligns with our goals in our strategic plan. I think that's the thing, so that when, when we review this and we look at these things, we can directly link the work that FCSS is doing to what we have decided is a strategy of our community and our councils going forward. I think that linkage is very important to see that the work that they're carrying out is continuing to move the needle ahead of the objectives of the council.
Good.
Thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are very similar, that the FCSS strategic plan would kind of be developed in line with the council's strategic plan. And then from that FCSS strategic plan, it would help to inform the level of service, as it cascades down from council strategy to FCSS strategy to how do we achieve meeting the goals of those strategies. That comes out in the level of service. That's how I would envision that it would work.
Any more comments?
The chair to council, my thoughts on the strategic plan was we've got these 8 recommendations in this report. One of them is to develop a strategic plan, but I also think that administration is going to, in that strategic planning process, address these 8 recommendations. It would make sense to do that in that process, and some of them, like item 5 here that talks about the risks of short-term grant funding. I know from previous presentations we've had on our FCSS that we manage short-term grant funding with our employee management and our full-time employees move from project to project as they're funded. So I know that we do have strategic plans, or we're acting on strategy. I'd like to see that strategic plan formalized and have a clear direction the council can fall back on at those levels.
Yeah, the mayor brings up a great point about the risk of short-term funding and implementing programs with short-term funding. It's probably happened more than once that programs were initiated and became popular and then funding for them dried up. And because they were such popular programs, they wound up being continued and became town funded. I think you'll have to fill in the blank, but I believe there was an after-school childcare program that the province stopped funding and the town picked it up. Is that correct?
In the chair council. That's not correct. It
Okay.
was, it was just an identified gap in the community. And then it was actually a parent advisory group that started the after school program. And the parent advisory group actually looked to FCSS to help them develop, and then FCSS took it on. That being said, sometimes depending on the program, if another agency wants to take a program on or has capacity, they do so. This isn't the case because there's additional need for childcare programs in the community. But a good example of that would be Codes for Kids. So Codes for Kids was a need in the community. FCSS started it, and then Hinton Employment Learning Place took it on, and then they came to us saying that they could no longer operate the program. A huge need in the community. So what we did is in the family life portfolio, we actually dropped a program and picked up the Codes for Kids because that was a greater need than the other one that was in the portfolio.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification. Notwithstanding though, that there certainly could be the possibility that a short-term funded program could lose funding, and then that pressure is put on the town to continue the program with town funding. Maybe not necessarily, this example is not necessarily through FCSS, but the provincial government stopping funding of the Visitor Information Center is an example of something like that where it's important to the community, it's important to the town. So the town picks up funding when the provincial government drops it. And I think that's a risk, and that's something that should be addressed with a plan for how to deal with things like that in the event that they do happen.
Perfect, thanks. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So just to kind of tie into that, elder abuse prevention would actually be an example of one.
Yeah.
So in 2015, the province, we applied for a 3-year pilot project in elder abuse, and then the funding ended, and then that's when we made the position regional, and then all of the municipalities pitched in. The only thing is the town of Hinton we didn't request for funding. We actually did, we put it in the portfolio of an already existing position. Yeah, and then still maintain the regional position to advocate at a provincial level with grant dollars.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would a strategic plan also speak to servicing local base? So we're doing a programming that could be done in the private sector. We're doing a programming, but in government sector, if something could be delivered equally as well in the private sector, and it's one of these programs that wasn't funded, then those would be opportunities for us to get back to the private sector, strategic plans to that as well.
Through the chair, so I think where the strategic plan would speak to that, like that's what we do as FCSS every year. We look at the programs, and our goal isn't to provide programs in the community that say another agency or, you know, a group alike wants to do it. We all kind of follow our own mandate. And so if there's a group that comes in that is like, this covers our mandate, then we, of course, will drop the program or give it up, and then look within our FCSS to ensure that, okay, is there another pillar that we need to provide support with. The foundation of our structure is pretty vital. And we've kind of seen that in the last couple of years with the evacuations from Edson and Jasper. You know, to call upon, you know, from 7 to 11 staff in the summer months. And at least like 70% of them are able to come, and we can set up a reception center, and 3,000 people can walk through our doors in 5 hours. And we're not having to just rely on volunteers for a critical structure like that. That kind of stuff we kind of navigate and pivot.
Good. Any more comments or questions? Okay, well, let's move to the question. The committee directed administration to return an FCSS strategic plan to a future committee of the whole meeting. Please vote for or against. Thank you. That's unanimous for. Therefore, everybody's for that. So, any more discussion for that topic, please? Okay. That being the case, we move on to the next item, which is. Please go ahead. Oh, I forgot.
Can I request one?
Yeah, that's what I forgot. Yeah, I just wanted an idea.